Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. And if you're new here, I'm Sandy. I'm back from a short break, and today I've got an amazing cardboard box craft idea. And I think many of you will want to make it yourself as well. So, to start, I've got a super large cardboard box that once contained diapers. The cardboard box is rectangular and it's thick, so it will be perfect for our home decor project because today I'm going to transform this huge box into the most elegant mirrored side table that will also double as extra storage. The first thing we're going to do is fold down all the flaps from the opening of the box. And to make sure the flaps are secured down, I'm going to start by applying some wood glue to the insides of each flap. The wood glue is a very strong adhesive, although this brand will take about 20 minutes to cure. So once I have enough wood glue applied, all I'm going to do is go ahead and fold the first flap down. And to keep it in place, I'll use a few clips to clip the flaps down. But since the clips are pretty short, as you can see here, I'm going to go back in with some hot glue towards the edges of the flap. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Hotto to thank them for sending this cordless hot glue gun to me and for sponsoring today's video. This amazing cordless hot glue gun is so comfortable to grip. It's got a tiny little tip so I can get really precise with my hot glue applications. And at the bottom, I can simply plug in a standard USB cable to charge it up. There's an LED light at the top of the glue gun, and this flashing white light means it's heating up. It only takes about 30 seconds to heat up, and then when the flashing white light turns into a solid white light, you know it's ready to be used. So I'm just going to press down on the button located on the handle with my fingers to dispense the glue. By applying the hot glue to the edges of the flap, it will provide extra hold, keeping the flaps down. And we won't have to wait for the wood glue to fully cure because the hot glue pretty much cools and dries within seconds. So once we're done with the first flap, we can continue working on the next one until all 4 flaps are secured down. And by the way, if you would like to get your very own cordless hot glue gun, Hotto is offering a 15% discount to all my viewers. Simply use my link provided down below in the description box, or check out directly from the hottotools.com website using my coupon code Creativdiy to get your 15% discount. So while I work on finishing up these flaps, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so YouTube will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. See how easy it is to glide that glue gun across the edges of the flap? And because the tip is so small, I get the perfect amount of glue applied without creating a mess. Okay, so with all 4 flaps from the box opening folded and glued down, now I want to reinforce the bottom of the box with a couple of pieces of foam board. And since I'm going to be lining the inside of the cardboard box later, I'm just going to use up some scrap pieces of foam board. Here I've already measured out the length and width of the bottom of the box and marked it off onto the foam board. So now I'll use my box cutter to cut the foam board pieces out. And the reason why I prefer using a box cutter for this is because it's actually easier than using a pair of scissors. And it will give me a cleaner cut because scissors tend to give me those jagged edges, especially when cutting foam board. And you'll notice that I'm using a ruler as a cutting guide so I can be sure to get as straight of a cut as possible. Once I'm done cutting the first piece, I'm actually going to use it as a template to cut a second piece because I really want to make sure I have a solid foundation at the bottom of the cardboard box. And that's because the side table I'm making will be dual purpose as I intend to use the table base as storage as well. Which is why I'm going to make the extra effort to line the insides of the cardboard box to make it pretty. I know I have made storage boxes out of cardboard before, and some of you did leave me some comments suggesting that I line the inside of the boxes. So I've read your suggestions and I'm going to listen to y'all. Now, with two pieces of foam board sized and cut, let's just make sure they fit into the bottom of the cardboard box first. I'll just slide them in on a slant and I can already tell they're going to fit perfectly. I don't want to push them all the way down yet to the bottom because I want to pretty them up first with some glitter fabric and then I'll put them inside. So here I have a roll of the most beautiful black glitter faux leather fabric, which I'm going to cut to size. This faux leather is so pretty, and the great thing is none of the glitter sheds, so you don't have to worry about getting glitter anywhere. And by the way, if you're planning to make this side table as well, I'll leave links down in the description box to the craft supplies and materials that we're using today, so you can stock up and make sure you have everything you need to make your own side table. Once I have the piece of glitter fabric cut out, it's time to adhere it to the top piece of foam board. We're only going to cover one side of one piece of foam board because that's the only side that anyone will ever see when they access the storage area. Now, to adhere the glitter fabric to the foam board, all I'm going to use is some hot glue. So I've got my handy dandy cordless hot glue gun here, and I'll just press the power button here at the top and wait for the blinking white light to turn solid. And the great thing is I haven't had to recharge this glue gun just yet, but I will need to feed it another glue stick, so I'll just pop one in here where the hole is. The white light is solid now, so we're ready to hot glue this fabric. When I press the button on the handle, the glue stick will automatically get fed in when the original one inside is depleted. And as you can see, I'm just lining the edges of the foam board with a line of hot glue, and that's really all we need. This hot glue gun is so easy to use, it's comfortable to grip, it's lightweight, and I haven't even mentioned the best thing about this glue gun besides the fact that it's cordless. If you're forgetful like I tend to be, this hot glue gun will actually turn itself off after 5 minutes if you stop using it. I love this safety feature because now I don't have to worry about forgetting whether or not I unplugged my hot glue gun before leaving the house. With the fabric glued down, let's turn this foam board over. Since there's some extra fabric, I'll go ahead and use my scissors to trim that excess off. And don't worry if it's not perfect. It's okay if you have some jagged edges because when you place this foam board into the box and the rest of the sides of the box inside is lined with the black glitter fabric, I promise you that you won't be able to see any of the imperfections at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert this foam board into the box. And take a look at that. It's nice and snug and it fits perfectly. With the bottom in, now we'll work on lining all four sides of the box with the same black glitter faux leather fabric. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can either take a measuring tape or ruler and measure the length and width of each side, cut each piece, and then hope they all fit perfectly. Or you can do it my way, which is no measuring and doing only one cut. All I'm going to do is place the entire roll of fabric inside the box and lay it out flat on one side and start gluing each side down one side at a time. That way, I'll be guaranteed that I will have no gaps when I get to each of the corners. I prefer to do it this way because in the past, when I used to measure each side for my boxes, my pieces would never fit perfectly and I would always have too little fabric or too much that I had to trim off. This way, I know I'll only have to cut the end of the roll once all the four sides are covered. And to glue the fabric down, I'm going in with a generous amount of white glue. I prefer using this over hot glue only because the hot glue tends to dry in hard clumps. And with the white glue, it will take about 30 to 60 minutes to dry, so I'll be able to smooth it down with a foam brush afterwards before I lay down the fabric flat onto the cardboard box. And sorry if the camera is moving around a lot. I'm actually doing this with one hand because my other hand is actually holding the camera, so you can get a better view inside the box and see what I'm actually doing. I managed to get all four sides of the inside of the box lined fairly easily and quickly, and now we'll go ahead and trim off the excess from the opening of the box. I've got my box cutter here, so I'll just slide the blade across. And once again, don't worry if your cut is not perfectly straight because we'll be applying a trim later to cover the edges up anyhow. So while I'm working on trimming off the excess, comment down below with the words box and let me know if you are a crafter or if you simply like to watch craft videos. And if you happen to be a crafter, I would love to know if you have ever crafted with cardboard before. I love crafting with cardboard because there are so many different things you can make. Of course, on this channel, I specialize in home decor crafts, so I tend to make a lot of things that I can use around the house like tables, stools, keepsake boxes, and even vases and candle holder pedestals. You would be amazed with what the possibilities are when you have a few empty cardboard boxes laying around. Alright, so we've trimmed off the excess fabric and now I would like to show you how to hide those ugly edges with some beautiful trim. This trim is made of rhinestone and real glass, and what I like about it is the trim is flexible so it can easily go around corners and edges. The trim is also completely self-adhesive. But before we apply this trim, you'll notice that you can see through the gaps between the pieces of rhinestone and glass. So what I'm going to do is apply some paint along the edges of the box first because I don't want any of the yellow and blue colors to show through the trim once we apply it to the box. Here I've got some white paint and a small flat paintbrush, and all I'm doing is dabbing the paint on with the tip of the brush because we really don't need a lot of surface area to be painted, just the edges. And here's what the opening of the box looks like now on one side with the edges painted and trim applied. You can see that the trim folds down into the opening of the box so both the outer and inner edges are covered. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing with the trim on the remaining three sides of the opening. And by the way, if you like this trim, be sure to check the links in the description box down below for all my favorite craft embellishments, including the rhinestone trims in today's craft project. Okay, so we've got all the trim applied and now the opening of the box looks much cleaner. Now I'm going to turn the box onto its side with one of the two larger sides facing upwards. On the outside of each of the two larger sides of the box, we're going to place a silver framed mirror onto it. I got this mirror for $4 at the Dollarama, and let me tell you how pleasantly surprised I was when I discovered it is the exact same size as this box, and I promise you I did not plan that. Anyways, before we attach this mirror to the box, I've turned it over because we'll need to remove the two little hooks at the back. To do that, I'll just take a pair of pliers and gently pull the hooks up away from the back of the mirror. Ideally, I want to avoid tearing the brown paper that is covering the back of the mirror. So now we have a very nice clean surface, except I am noticing that the inner edges of the frame has a slight slant down to the back of the mirror. So to even things out, I decided to apply a piece of cardboard to the back of the mirror. And of course, we'll be using my handy dandy cordless hot glue gun, and this time I'll show you how you can use the hot glue gun while it's still plugged in and charging. So I don't have to waste any time waiting for the glue gun to recharge itself. That's how versatile this glue gun is. Now we're going to go in with wood glue to adhere the back of the mirror to the cardboard box. I'm being pretty liberal with the wood glue because I want to make sure we have a very secure, long-lasting hold. But since wood glue takes up to 20 to 30 minutes to cure, I'm also going to go back in with some more hot glue around the outer edges. That way the mirror will adhere to the box immediately while the wood glue sets and cures. And by doing that, I can continue with building out the rest of the side table without having to wait for the glue to fully dry. So I'll just flip this mirror over now and set it on to the box. I can already feel the hot glue taking hold, and this mirror is not going anywhere. Now I'll carefully flip the box over so we can place our second mirror onto the other side. And by the way, if you have watched any of my craft tutorials before, you may have noticed that I tend to use a variety of glues in my craft projects. If you're interested in learning more about the different types of glue and when to use the different glues, comment down below with the word glue to make your request. If I receive enough requests, I'll make a community post on my YouTube channel explaining the different types of glue I use and when I use them and why I use them in my various craft projects. So with that said, we've got two mirrors on the two of the larger sides of this box, and now I'm going to turn this box upside down because now what I want to do is add a wood panel to the bottom of the box. Not only will the wood panel provide extra sturdiness for the bottom of the cardboard box, but it will also give the option to add some legs to this table later if I decide to. Now, the wood panels I'll be using are just whatever I found at the Dollar Tree. This is real wood and not very thick, but thick enough for the purposes of this project. This wood panel will need to be cut to size, and I'm going to show you how to do that without a saw. First, I've gone ahead and marked the wood panel where I'll need to make a cut. I've got my ruler here as a cutting guide, and all I'm going to do is take my box cutter and apply the blade directly onto the wood where the pencil marking is. I'll keep scoring the wood panel several times using the ruler as a cutting guide so I can get a straight cut. After scoring the wood panel several times, I'm going to see if the cut I made is deep enough. If not, I'll continue to score the wood and then check again. Once the cut is deep enough, you should be able to use both hands to gently snap the wood panel into two pieces. Then I'll repeat the exact same process to cut a second piece until I have enough wood paneling to cover the entire surface area that we need to cover for the bottom of the box. So I actually ran out of my regular wood glue, but I found this old bottle of woodwork glue that I bought from the Dollar Tree years ago. I've used this before and it actually works quite well, so here we go. I'm actually quite impressed with a lot of the Dollar Tree craft supplies like this glue. In fact, comment down below with the word box and let me know if y'all shop the arts and craft supplies aisle at the Dollar Tree, and if so, which craft supplies are your favorite? Mine is definitely the glue, including Mod Podge as well as the silver glitter. And I also think their paintbrushes are pretty decent. The only thing about getting craft supplies at the Dollar Tree, though, is their bottles of glue, paint, and glitter are pretty tiny, so sometimes it's more worth it just to buy the regular sized bottles elsewhere. But in a pinch, Dollar Tree is very convenient and affordable. Anyhow, with the wood glue applied, this time you'll notice that I did not add any hot glue because I don't want the hot glue to dry in hard clumps and create a gap between the wood panels and the box. I want the wood panel to sit completely flat against the box, so we'll let this dry a bit and then I'll come back to finish the rest of this box so that when we're done with this box, it will then become the base for our side table. Now, while we wait for the wood glue to dry, let's work on the tabletop. So I was at a yard sale earlier this year and I picked up this white framed mirror for a measly $1.50. It still has the yellow sticky where the former owner wrote the price. I think this framed mirror will be the perfect size as a tabletop for our side table, but I do need to make sure the tabletop is going to stay in place because this mirror is actually pretty lightweight. So what I'm going to do is install some brackets to the back of this mirror. I've carefully placed the box on top of the tabletop mirror and I'll just use my ruler to make sure it's perfectly centered. At this point, the wood panels we just installed are still drying, so just be sure not to disturb that. Once I've made my measurements and marked up each corner, I'll know where I can place my brackets. And the brackets are simply going to be a few of these Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree. I'll grab a total of 8 blocks and then I'll show you exactly where to place them. We want 2 for each corner and each pair should be positioned at a 90-degree angle at each corner. And notice how I'm leaving a tiny bit of space between the blocks and the box. That's because this big frame here is not completely flat. There's a little curved bump along the frame, so I'll want to have a little wiggle room to make sure that when I place the table over the base that it will fit properly. So here I've marked up where I'm going to secure the wood blocks, 4 sets in total, 1 on each corner. And now we're ready to hot glue them into place. Once they're all secured, we can flip this mirror over and start working on the frame. Notice how the frame is looking a little yellow and dull against the white paper that I placed over the mirror? Well, you can fix that by slapping a quick coat of white paint on it and call it a day. But what I want to do is bling this entire frame out until you won't even recognize it. Starting with the sides of this frame, I found this beautiful rhinestone and glass trim that I think will be perfect. The trim is self-adhesive and very flexible, so it will be extremely easy and quick to apply it to the frame. Now, silly me, I didn't check to make sure I had enough of the trim, and as it turns out, I ran out, so now I'm stuck with two sides of this tabletop that I still need to bling out. The good news is I have another roll of silver rhinestone trim that looks similar, but the glass pieces are smaller. But even though the design is different, I think it will work. I'm guessing no one will even notice that I used two different trims. And since I actually have several rolls of the second trim, I'm going to apply it onto the inner part of the frame as well. There's a slight curve, but this trim is flexible, so I'll be able to bend it to the shape of the curve. You'll notice that I'm leaving the rest of the frame for now, and that's because I have an extra special embellishment I'm going to use for the rest of the frame, which I'll show you in a minute. And I know some of you are going to ask me again, so just as a quick reminder, if you like any of the embellishments I'm using in today's craft tutorial, I'll have links down below in the description box to all my favorite embellishments, including these rhinestone and glass trims. And here's what the tabletop mirror looks like so far. We've left the middle section of the frame to embellish, and here's what I have chosen. These are real glass pieces. Check out the facets on these glass gems. I'll only need 2 rows to fit into the frame, so I'm just going to cut this. These glass gems have a bit of weight to them, so it will actually help give some heftiness to our otherwise lightweight tabletop. I absolutely love crafting with these glass gems in particular because they're such good quality, yet they're so easy to work with. They're self-adhesive, and once you remove the wax backing and apply them, they're not going to budge. So I'll continue applying these glass gems, and then we'll be ready to finish off the rest of the table base. With all the trim and glass gems applied, I'm left with these open gaps at the corners where the frame was mitered at 45 degrees. So I'll fix that up by applying a tiny strip of the silver rhinestone trim I have left over, and no one would be the wiser. How gorgeous is that? This tabletop is looking so pretty, and we're so close to completing the project. It's the next day, the mirror tabletop is already complete, and now we can finish off the rest of the table base. The wood panels are secured onto the box, so now we'll finish up the remaining two sides of this box. Since the remaining two sides are smaller, I have a smaller silver frame mirror that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. The width is perfect, but it's not tall enough, so I'll have to figure out how to embellish the upper area of the box. Since I don't have any glass mirrors that fit this space, I decided to go in with some acrylic mirror paper. This acrylic paper is thin, and you can cut it just like paper. I've already measured off where I need to cut, so now I'm just going to use my paper cutter to cut it to size. If you don't have one of these paper cutters though, go ahead and just use regular scissors, but I do prefer using a paper cutter to get the smoothest and straightest cut possible. So once the mirror paper is cut, you can peel back the wax backing and lay it directly onto the cardboard box since it's self-adhesive. I'll also check to make sure there are no gaps between the framed mirror and the acrylic mirror paper. And since all checks out, now I'm going to peel away the blue film on top and take a look at that mirror effect. Later, when you see this table in my living room, you're not even going to notice that part of this side is lined with acrylic mirror paper. It's going to look very similar to real glass mirror. So now I'm going to flip the silver frame mirror and prepare the back of the mirror for gluing. Since there's a dip between the frame and the back of the mirror though, I'm first going to lay down a piece of cardboard along each corner so the whole back is even. That will make it much easier to secure the mirror to the cardboard box. And once again, I'm just going to use my new hot glue gun to adhere the pieces of cardboard down. I just love how quick and easy this glue gun makes it because I don't have to worry about the cord getting in the way, and the glue flows out so quickly and easily without making a mess because the tip is nice and small. Now we're ready to secure the mirror to the box, and for that, we're going to start with some wood glue. I finally got a new large bottle, and now this bottle is going to last me for a very, very long time. And I have plans for it because I have another home rental project that I'm in the middle of that I need to finish up. I'll be upgrading all my bedroom doors by installing molding to the doors, and the best part is the doors will look upscale and expensive, but all the materials I'll be using will come from the Dollar Tree. If you're interested in seeing that project, comment down below with the word home and let me know. If I get enough requests, I'll put a video together for that, and I'm almost certain some of you will want to try to upgrade your doors too. And by now, many of you know that I'll be adding a bit of hot glue to the edges so the mirror will stick to the box right away, because you know I won't have the patience to wait for the wood glue to fully cure. And I can't wait to finish this table and see what it looks like. Okay, so you see this gap here between the two framed mirrors? That was not the plan, so now I'll need to figure out a way to either close the gap or hide the gap. But since the hot glue has already cooled and dried, the mirror is not budging, so I'll have to hide the gap. To do that, I'm going to take some silver rhinestone trim, something that's wide enough to span across the two frames. So I started by applying the trim above the gap, and now I'll go back in and use my thumb to push the trim into the gap, making a 90-degree angle. If you have watched some of my other craft tutorials, you'll already know that this trim is one of my favorite embellishments to use in my craft projects. It just makes everything look prettier. And now what I'm going to do is add a bit more trim to cover the sides here as well, and then I'll flip this box over and do the exact same thing on the remaining side. When I'm done, all four sides of this box will be mirrored. Now for the bottom of the box, you'll recall earlier we added these wood panels to the bottom. Well, not only will it make our box more sturdy because it's also going to be extra storage, but it's the perfect platform for me to add some legs to the table so the side table can have a bit of extra height. And since we're going for a glam look, I grabbed four of these clear glass candle holders from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you can't find similar candle holders or you're simply not into glam that much, go ahead and grab some wooden candle holders or even just some wooden blocks and paint them whatever color you prefer, and they'll work perfectly fine as table legs as well. For me though, these clear glass candle holders are perfect. They also have a nice silhouette shape to them, so they will make my table look extra elegant. Now, you can choose to set the glass candle holders like I have with the mouth facing the floor, or you can turn them upside down. It's up to you. For me though, I would prefer to have a larger base adhering to the wood panel, so this is the way we'll secure my legs. Now, every time I'm working with glass, I always like to use the strongest adhesive I can find. So we're going to use Fix-All, which is very similar to E6000. It's a super glue and it will provide an extremely strong and long-lasting hold. But of course, I'm also going to go back in with some hot glue as well, so I won't have to wait overnight for the Fix-All to fully cure before I can use this table. And notice how I'm alternating the glue so that the hot glue gets applied in between the dabs of Fix-All. That's so we have an even distribution of each type of glue, because as I explained before, each type of glue has its own purpose. Okay, so I couldn't wait to show you what the table base looks like, so here it is. Check out all the storage space inside the table base. This table base will be able to hold lots of stuff inside. And here's what the entire side table looks like with the mirrored tabletop embellished with more trim and gorgeous glass gems. When the sunlight hits these gems and rhinestones, this entire table sparkles and glitters. And the glass candle holders we added as legs not only gives this side table some extra elegance, but some additional height as well. And remember that we built those brackets under the tabletop? They're definitely helping to keep this tabletop secure so it doesn't slide all over the place. But then lift up the tabletop and now we've got tons of storage inside the base of the table. But first, let me show you again what's helping to hold the tabletop in place when it's sitting on the base. These simple wood blocks positioned on each corner will prevent the table from slipping from side to side. And as for the storage, if you have kids or grandkids, you can hide all their toys in here when they're not in use. And look at the framed mirrors on the sides, but never mind the fuzzy slippers I'm wearing. All the silver rhinestone and glass trim is looking beautifully. And if you're like me, you may want to store some extra blankets in here in case someone wants to snuggle on the couch later. Or how about spare throw pillows? There's just so much storage in here, which means no more clutter in the living room. And when you've got everything stored away, simply place the tabletop back onto the base, and now you have an elegant side table standing alongside your favorite chair. The side table has endless possibilities and was so fun to make. If you enjoyed today's craft tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.